The most important Syracuse basketball transfer is probably someone that you would not expect me to say, and that is William Kyle.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And of course, we're always free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And on today's show, we are going to go over the importance level of every Syracuse basketball transfer edition so far. Now, obviously, this is technically subject to change because Syracuse basketball still has 3 open scholarships remaining. But even if Syracuse decides to use 1, 2, if not all 3 scholarships, I don't think they're going to make any more significant offseason additions to the roster. So for all intents and purposes, this is probably going to remain the same now and until the season starts, barring something unforeseen, right? So once again, we're talking about the importance level of every Syracuse basketball transfer. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the other day on the podcast, I believe it was the Tuesday edition, we went over the role of every single Syracuse basketball transfer. And now this is kind of a combination of player expectations, player roles for this upcoming season, and value to the team all into one, and you get the importance level. We're going to start off the podcast talking about the players that are most important, then guys who could go in between an importance level, and then at the end of the podcast, we'll talk about a couple of players who really, they're not going to make or break Syracuse basketball's season as far as making or missing the NCAA tournament, which, by the way, is the elephant in the room, right? Making or missing the NCAA tournament. So let's start off with the most important Syracuse basketball transfers for this upcoming season. It's between 2 players, in my opinion. And one of them's obvious. Naithan George, the point guard from Georgia Tech. Obviously, Syracuse is going to need him to be really good in order for them to make the tournament next season. But the other one is William Kyle, the 6'9" center from UCLA, with 1 more year of college eligibility remaining, by the way. I believe he's actually the most important Syracuse basketball transfer for this upcoming season as far as their ability to either make the tournament or miss the tournament. Now, you can sit here and call me nuts all you want, and that's totally fine, and I toss it to you right now. I mean, what do you think? Who's the most important Syracuse basketball transfer this upcoming season? And I have been sitting on this podcast the last couple of days. I've been going back and forth on it. So this isn't really me waking up on the wrong side of the bed this morning and just coming up with a random thought like, I think it's William Kyle. No, I've been planning this out for a while. And I really do think it's him. Because think about what we are asking from William Kyle this upcoming season. Be the starting center. How about that? Be the starting center, and the longer he can play into games, well, the less that Ibrahim Souare, who we'll talk about later on in the podcast, has to play, and the less time that Donnie Freeman and Sadiq White, your 2 stud power forwards, have to play a position that they may not be comfortable playing, right? So we hope that William Kyle is the starting center, but not only that he's the starting center, but he's actually a good starting center for Syracuse basketball. We hope that he can be an elite shot blocker and an elite defender in general for Syracuse this upcoming year. We're hoping that he's a really solid, efficient rebounder for the team, be able to run the floor in transition and be more athletic at the center spot than what Syracuse has had the last couple of seasons, right? Be an athlete. And obviously, it's not to be atrocious at the free throw line. Now, to be fair to William Kyle, He's a career 57% free throw shooter, which is not great. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you that 57% from the free throw line is good. It's not. But for a center, it's not awful. You can be a whole lot worse, which, by the way, he was a whole lot worse last season. Now, UCLA a year ago, he shot less than 40% from the free throw line. That's not going to cut it for Syracuse basketball this upcoming year. If he's shooting 55, 60% from the free throw line, okay, fine. I'll sign for that right now. Okay? I'll get my hand out right here and 55, 60% William Kyle. I'll take that from him. And those are just a few things that we are hoping from William Kyle. As far as his expectations, I don't think it's fair that William Kyle comes in and we expect that he's going to be the player he was at South Dakota State, which is average 11 points, 6 rebounds, and nearly 1.5 blocks a game. It would be great if that's what he did at Syracuse this upcoming year. And I'll tell you this much. If he comes into Syracuse and he averages 11 and 6 and 1.5 rebounds, they're making the NCAA tournament. And not only are they making the NCAA tournament, they're probably a top 5 seed. Okay? You just got optimistic Jackson Holzer right there. If William Kyle does that, the sky's the limit for this team this upcoming season. But I don't think that's a fair expectation for him. Last season at UCLA, he averaged 3 points, 2 rebounds, and 0.6 blocks a game. I'm sorry. That's not enough production if he's going to be Syracuse's starting center. I get he only played about 10 minutes per game. I understand that. He couldn't carve out too much of a role at UCLA, yada, yada, yada. I get it. But think about what we're asking from him coming to Syracuse. He's probably going to have to play more than 10 minutes per game. And for however long he plays, he's going to have to be better than 3 points and 2 rebounds and a little over a half block a game. It's just he's got to be better than that. That's to make the tournament, right? He's likely, at least for right now, hopefully going to play about 20 minutes per game. And in those 20 minutes, can he be good? Forget about, can he just be serviceable? Can he just be average? Can he be good? Can he average 7 and 7 and play elite defense? Can he? If the answer is yes, Syracuse is in good shape. Because you think about this starting lineup here of Naithan George and J.J. Starling and Nate Kingz and Donnie Freeman. And then you got William Kyle as your starting center playing a little over 20 minutes a game, and he's getting you 7 and 7 and playing elite defense. And he's able to run the floor too. Okay. I see it. There you go. You have no excuses at that point. Definitely not to make the tournament. You're probably making the tournament if he's able to do that. But if the answer is no, and he's just not good enough to be a starting center in the ACC, which I'm not sure he is, then they have a hole at the center spot for the entirety of the season. A hole in the lineup. You're either going to play someone at center that isn't really suited to be one, or you're going to be playing someone at center who's just not good enough in the ACC. Can they do something else? Well, if you look in the transfer portal, there's not much left. They're pretty much all gone. Who's behind William Kyle? Well, it's Ibrahim Souare. William Kyle is probably going to have to be better than what he has ever been before at Syracuse basketball. He's going to have to take another step in development. And by better, I don't necessarily mean matching his numbers that he did at South Dakota State. I mean, purely as a basketball player, he's got to be better. Because at South Dakota State, he also had more opportunities. He's not going to get the same amount of shot attempts at Syracuse when you look at their team. But can he be better in the attempts that he is given? And can he play good defense? And can he play well over 20 minutes per game? Because that's what Syracuse needs from him in order to make the NCAA tournament next season. And the comparison that I have for William Kyle is this, and I'm not comparing the play styles of these two centers because they're completely different. But William Kyle heading into this upcoming season kind of reminds me of how I felt about Naheem McLeod heading into 2023-24, which I was not the host of this podcast just yet, but I do remember thinking in the moment when Syracuse got Naheem McLeod and we knew that he was going to be the starting center, that they might just be asking too much from him. Did anyone else feel that way when they got Naheem McLeod? Like, yeah, there's upside, but we're asking him to do something he's never really done before. And to be fair to William Kyle, I mean, he was a starting center at South Dakota State, playing well above 20 minutes, close to 25, even 30 minutes a game there. So he's done it. But when he was at UCLA, he was just a backup. He was just a role player playing about 10 minutes a night. Can he do it at a power conference? It's just fascinating. So overall, the main takeaway of this importance level podcast is that I believe it's William Kyle. And I would love to hear from you in the comments section below. Who do you think is the most important Syracuse basketball transfer this upcoming season? Comment your thoughts in the comments section below. Coming up, we'll talk about the other player who's super duper important for Syracuse as far as making the tournament. It's fairly obvious, but then we'll get into a couple of other players that, hey, don't forget about them too, right? That's coming up next on Locked On Syracuse. The days are getting longer, the weather's warming up, and people are spending more time outside, which means it's the perfect time to refresh your outdoor space. Whether you're working with a big backyard or a small balcony, Wayfair has everything you need to make it feel more like you. Wayfair's massive selection of outdoor essentials makes it easy to transform any space into your ideal summer setup. From comfy conversation sets to sleek dining tables and outdoor decor, they've got it all and at prices that fit your budget. Grab a new patio dining set and some string lights from Wayfair to help extend your outdoor space. Whether you're entertaining guests or just relaxing solo, shop Wayfair to help you unwind. Shop a huge selection of outdoor furniture online this summer. Get outside with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com, wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. This is Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer. And folks, if you enjoy this podcast, if you can just do me a small favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, helps the channel grow and reach all Syracuse Orange fans. And once again, thank you to all those who continue to subscribe to Locked On Syracuse each and every day. Let's continue this conversation of the most important Syracuse basketball transfer portal additions so far. In the previous segment, we talked about why William Kyle is truly the most important addition as far as, are they going to make the NCAA tournament next year? Or is it going to be the fifth consecutive season they are not playing in the big dance? That's right. But the other player who has a case to be the most important transfer, and you can certainly make that argument to me right now in the comments section below. Feel free to do it. Feel free to call me insane. That's okay. I can take it. Is Naithan George. 6'3", 180-pound point guard from Georgia Tech. Got multiple years of eligibility remaining. The reason he's not number one is because I expect him to perform. I expect that Naithan George, a player who's coming off a season in which he averaged over 12 points a game, nearly 7 assists per game, which led the ACC a year ago, to come to Syracuse and be one of the best point guards in the ACC. Am I being unreasonable? Feel free to type your thoughts in the comments section below right now. But I have a lot of faith that Naithan George is going to be really good. But he's still super important. Can't deny that. He's still going to have to come to Syracuse and be Naithan George. Hopefully he can be even better than what he's been the last couple of seasons, which is already, again, pretty good, right? Hopefully he can get that 3-point percentage up to 35, 36% for his career. That creates just a little bit more floor spacing for this team. Maybe he can improve as a defender, cut down on the turnovers slightly. He's obviously super important to Syracuse basketball, but more than that, what I have been saying time and time again is that he's going to be playing a ton of minutes. He's a minutes eater. He's like a pitcher in baseball, that this guy is just going to go out there and he's going to pitch as many innings as possible. Naithan George is just going to play a ton of minutes. Last year at Georgia Tech, nearly 36 minutes per game. Guess what? If he's coming to Syracuse and he's playing 35, 36 minutes a night, that's probably a good thing. Because he's more than capable of doing it, and it's also less pressure on a guy like Luke Fennell, who's a true freshman this upcoming season, to have to be really good right off the bat, because you got a guy like Nate George able to hold down the point guard spot. So, let's get into now Nate Kingz. Okay? 6'5", 190-pound guard and forward from Oregon State. He's got one more year of eligibility. He is the third most important transfer portal addition for Syracuse basketball. Nate Kingz, if you've been following along this podcast enough, we know what he can do. He can shoot, right? We know that. Nate Kingz can shoot the basketball, and so he's going to come to Syracuse. And you know what we're going to say? Hey, man, shoot the ball. But what's implied in that statement at the very end, the last word, hey, man, shoot the ball well. That's right. Syracuse basketball needs Nate Kingz to come into the season and be Nate Kingz, which last year at Oregon State was 45% three-point shooting from beyond the arc. I don't expect that he's going to be close to 45% like he was last year, but he should be above 40. He should be one of the premier shooters in the ACC next season. And earlier this week, not to just rehash literally everything, right? We talked about the three-point percentages of everyone else that's projected to be in the starting lineup. And the conclusion from that was very simple. Nate Kingz is really the only guy of those five players, of Naithan George, J.J. Starling, Kingz included, right? Donnie Freeman, William Kyle. Kingz is the only one that can really space the floor, because he is the one guy that you are concerned about as an opposing defense, that this guy can shoot it. So he's very important to Syracuse basketball. And also, to further my point, let's talk about the bench. Who on the bench is going to be an elite three-point shooter for Syracuse basketball? Is it going to be the two top freshmen? Kai and Anthony? How good is his three-point shot right away as a true freshman? Is Sadiq White a good shooter? I guess we'll find out, right? How about Luke Fennell? Well, I don't know if he's really going to see the floor a whole lot because he got Naithan George. The other transfers are Bryce, Zephir, and Ibrahim Souare. We're not going to be expecting much from them. We'll talk about them later on in the show. Who else? Who else, right? Aaron Womack? I don't think he's going to see the floor a whole lot either. Nate Kingz is really the truly only reliable three-point shooter on this team this upcoming season. So he is incredibly important as far as making or missing the NCAA tournament. But I don't think he's more important than William Kyle, and he's not more important than Naithan George. Let's get to Tyler Betsey. 6'8", 225-pound forward from Cincinnati with 3 more years of eligibility. It would be really cool. It would be outstanding if a guy who is 1 year removed from being a top 50 overall recruit in the country, if he just broke out for Syracuse in his true sophomore season. We went over the numbers a bit on the last podcast, but to save you some time, he was not very good in his true freshman year at Cincinnati. And if Tyler Betsey is able to break out for Syracuse, because it's happened before, where a player does not necessarily do all that much in their true freshman year, but they take that jump their sophomore year, or sometimes they take the jump their junior year. Development is a fickle thing, right? It's strange the way it can work. And if he breaks out, fantastic. He makes Syracuse basketball a whole lot deeper. If he doesn't break out, though, I still think there are other avenues for Syracuse basketball to make the tournament. William Kyle could be awesome, right? Maybe the true freshman duo of Ryan Anthony and Sadiq White are really good right off the bat. They're just ready to go. They hit the ground running. They're two of the top freshmen in the ACC. And next thing you know, you start looking down the lineup and you're saying, wow, Syracuse is a really good team. So how about the true freshmen are really good? Maybe Donnie Freeman, the guy who was the 6th overall player in the same class as Tyler Betsey, the 2024 recruiting cycle, maybe he just becomes an All-American. Probably not going to happen, but I think it's a possibility. I think it's on the table. Maybe the corner of the table, but it's possible if he improves as a defender. And instead of averaging 13 and 8, he averages 15 and 10. Well, there you go. He could be an All-American next season. Maybe Nate Kingz leads the ACC in three-point shooting this upcoming season. So there are other avenues for Syracuse basketball to make the NCAA tournament before you get to, all right, well, Tyler Betsey needs to break out for Syracuse. Would it be really helpful? Sure. Of course it would. Is it a necessity that in order for this team to hit the goal of making the tournament, they need Tyler Betsey to break out? The answer is no. But the reason why he comes in 4th on this list is because, unlike the other two players that we'll talk about in the next segment, he does have the potential to be really good. It's an outside shot, but it's possible given his pedigree of a top 50 overall recruit. What do you think of the order so far at importance level? Number 1, I believe it's William Kyle. Number 2, I believe it's Naithan George. Number 3, Nate Kingz. And number 4, Tyler Betsey. Comment your thoughts in the comment section below. Feel free to let me know right now why I am an idiot, right? Just tell me right now. I am an idiot. I am stupid. I have no idea what I am talking about. Now, coming up, we'll talk about the last two Syracuse basketball transfer portal additions. And let's just say this right now. If their season hinges on these two players, this team is in deep trouble. The final two transfers left to discuss on this podcast as far as the importance level for making or missing the NCAA tournament this upcoming season are Ibrahim Souare, the center from Georgia Tech, and Bryce Zephir, the guard from Montana State. And we left off the previous segment talking about how, hey, look, if the Syracuse season hinges on these two players, the team is likely in big trouble. And I stand by that statement 10 seconds later. Okay? And I don't mean it as disrespect to Ibrahim Souare or Bryce Zephir. But these two players are at the bottom of the depth chart for Syracuse basketball, at least on paper right now at the time of this recording, which is Thursday, May 15th, right? Souare is a bit more important than a guy like Bryce Zephir because he's the backup center. He is right now the one guy at the center spot that is behind William Kyle. So, like it or not, he's going to play meaningful minutes this upcoming season. Because William Kyle is not going to be playing all 40 minutes. And he's not going to be playing enough to the point where you can get away with not having Ibrahim Souare on the floor, period. So this guy's going to play. It's just that we hope he's not awful. That's where I'm at with Ibrahim Souare. Just don't be awful. With William Kyle, I'm really hoping that he's good because I think it drastically increases their chances of making the tournament. But for Souare, just don't be terrible. I do think he could be decent on defense, which is what he was last year at Georgia Tech. Don't expect much from him on offense, to be honest with you. But he's going to play. If William Kyle is playing 20 minutes a game, give or take, I don't think that Ibrahim Souare is necessarily going to fill in the other 20 minutes. But I could see a breakdown like this where William Kyle is playing 20, Ibrahim Souare plays 10, and then you got a mismatch at center for the other 10 minutes because the game is 40 minutes long, maybe even more if you go to overtime, or maybe you go to 2 overtimes like you did against Youngstown State, or 3-4 overtimes what you did against Boston College. I can't remember off the top of my head whether it was 3 or 4, which is funny because I was actually at that game and I can't remember it. That's neither here nor there. Just don't be awful, Ibrahim Souare. That's it. Now, getting to Bryce Zephir, we've talked about it before, and we'll continue talking about it whenever we have to bring him up as far as transfer additions. There are no expectations for him. So he's probably the least important of all the transfers. There are no expectations for him. He is at the bottom of the depth chart for all of Syracuse's guards. They have plenty ahead. I mean, like I just told you, they have Naithan George, they have Luke Fennell, you got JJ Starling, you got Kyan Anthony. You want to play Nate Kingz a little bit at the guard spot, you could. There are plenty of guys that are ahead of him. So I'm not too worried about Bryce Zephir. He's probably not playing unless there's garbage time, which hopefully is good garbage time for us. Hopefully Syracuse basketball is amazing and they're leading by 20 points with a minute to go against Duke. That would be good, right? That would be pretty cool. Don't think it'll happen, but hey, nice to dream, right? So maybe he plays then, and the team also needs fouls. You don't want JJ Starling committing his 3rd foul before the end of the first half, so bring in Bryce Zephir. Let him do it, right? Now, that just about does it for the importance level of every transfer. My list is William Kyle as the most important, followed by Naithan George, Nate Kingz, Tyler Betsey, Ibrahim Souare, then Bryce Zephir. I'd love to see your lists in the comments section below. We can have a great interaction about why you believe this player should be higher on the importance level, why you believe this player should be lower on the importance level. I'd love to hear from you in the comments section below. Now, as far as what is coming up on Locked On Syracuse in the future, tomorrow, it's Poll Friday. And on this week's Poll Friday, we are going to assign a letter grade for Syracuse basketball's transfer portal class. And then on Saturday or Sunday, so I'm letting you know right now that one of those days is probably going to be an off day for me. So Saturday or Sunday, we will go over the role of every single Syracuse basketball returning player, which is only 2 of them, JJ Starling and Donnie Freeman. But we'll also discuss the role of the freshmen for Syracuse this upcoming season. So that's what's coming up on Locked On Syracuse in the near future. Thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen today. And for your second listen, you can check out the Locked On Portal Show with recruiting expert Brian Smith, who's got the latest rumors and signings each and every day. You can be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal Podcast on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Folks, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this podcast, be sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoy the podcast, be sure to hit subscribe. Tell all your friends about Locked On Syracuse, and I will see you all again soon.